Let's confirm where it has gone. Not sure where I'm streaming to. I have several channels, different things. Okay. Seems it's the right one. Thank you, William. I'll be giving people an opportunity to how good it is the right one. So, yeah. So let me also share the link on the chat. The YouTube link, that is. Then we can get an opportunity to know each other. As always, this is not a webinar, so it means that you're going to be having, I can say, a kind of a relationship over the next 5 weeks, so that you're very participative and all these. I can see some people who have been, I saw somebody in the waiting room who was there in some of my previous cohorts. William has also been there. That is why he also is here to assist me on this. And yeah, so what we can do, I can give, first of all, let me just introduce myself. I think I'm assuming these things. So my name is Kevin Tui. I'm an AWS community builder. I'm also a cloud enthusiast. And I, as much as I do several things, and there are several, for example, of the startups that I'm part of, the founder of or a director of, I'm also very enthusiastic about building a community of people who understand the things that maybe I didn't get an opportunity to understand. Maybe I had to go through junk of stuff that didn't matter for me to get what mattered. So I want, my aim for this session is just to make life easier for you. I don't aim to make you an expert within 5 weeks. Let me not lie to you that I'm able to do that. But what I really want to do is to spark interest in you and make you see that there's more beyond knowing how to do such and such within one session. Sometimes you have to sacrifice. And that is why I always have to do it. Every time I've done this cohort, I think I don't know that this is the 4th or the 5th one. I've always done it on Saturday mornings, because anything that is a Saturday morning is a sacrifice in me. But it is always a very good thing that, okay, it might not be morning on other people are joining different time zones, but in any case, it's always a sacrifice to do anything on a Saturday. So that means that you're trying to relax out of a whole day or a whole week of work, or maybe a whole week of business. Maybe business went well, business didn't go well. And sometimes you don't feel like you really want to do something and you just want to relax it out. But one thing I came to understand is if you are able to treat each and every day as if it's a weekend, as if you're loving it, you'll not be that person who always looks forward to the weekend, because you'll always be having something that keeps you busy, and you can do one thing or the other. And that is how I was able to balance out my life. I didn't balance out my life by saying one time is to just relax and do nothing, and another is to be so busy, because that makes life unbalanced in any case. So, but to be busy doing things that impact the world in one way or another. So that is how I came up to being so passionate about community. I think I just mentioned AWS, but also I am part of the Atlassian community as an Atlassian community builder, and several other communities, the AWS user Kenya user group Kenya, and many others that I don't really, I even have lost track of. Sometimes I just get notices that I'm part of this, I'm part of that. So so over the next 5 weeks, basically over 1 hour, 30 minutes, I'll be going through hands-on session for some of the different offerings. And this one is going to be very unique, because this is the first kind of session where I'll be doing some Azure hands-on sessions through my Cloud Academy offering. But what I'll be able to say is that I'll be trying to ensure that we are doing things that are aligned to certain certifications. For example, like I'm looking towards doing the first, the Azure Fundamental Certification, maybe in June, so that I just get to have an understanding of the differences and the subtle differences between the two cloud providers, because they are the two main, although I know there's GCP and Alibaba Cloud and all these others, no disrespect to them. But I think the most prominent use cases rely on either of the two, AWS or Azure. So so that is basically how it's going to be. I'm going to be sharing. I'm not really sure whether I have an offering on Azure, but I was about to still look for it. And if there's anyone here who is, I know there's Microsoft Learn, but yeah, that is going to be shared. But I was trying to look at anything more hands-on, because I've seen that AWS is much deeper on hands-on than Azure, unless you are on a paid subscription of some of these services like Cloud Academy, a Cloud Guru, or Wiz Labs, or Tutorials Dojo, and all these kind of offerings that people have that have sandboxes for you to learn these things. So without further ado, I think I'll invite William, and then anyone else who would like to raise their hand and say something about the session, and let's all share also our expectations, so that we see whether you're going on well. So over to you, William. Maybe you can share experiences, share what you do, experiences from the cohort that you are in, and also what you expect also yourself. Over to you, William.
Okay, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, my name is William Maina. I'm currently studying AWS. Let's say I've learned AWS about 1 year or so. Also, in terms of the other cloud provider, Azure, I've learned it like just for a few months, but not that much deep. But so far, what I've experienced with it is that it's just the services, they work like similar with the AWS. Services are just like the same, but in terms of name, they are different, somehow different, but the functionality is just the same across all the cloud providers. So to the participants, I welcome you again to this session. I hope that we will learn. It will require commitment from each one and every one of us. Yeah, commitment is key and discipline. We will complete the courses over the next 5 weeks or so. Yeah. I've learned AWS Cloud Practitioner and the AWS Cloud Architecting. That is the associate level. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, William, for this. William was part of, I don't know whether it was last year. Was it last year when you did my 5-week? Was it last year?
It was
nice.
nice.
Yeah, you are one of the standout learners, together with Meshach and others. So always on my neck on the hands-on, and that is why I always do my sessions. My live sessions are always hands-on, because I know anything that is theory, you can get it on YouTube. But the good thing with hands-on is when you try to do it, every time I do it, I feel as if I'm doing it for the very first time, even if it's maybe several times. And sometimes when you do it severally, you get to understand a certain use case and something like that. So without wasting any time, because I want to do one hands-on before we get off this call. Let me see whether I can. Okay, today I'll start with Azure and explain the certifications around it. The reason why I'm talking about the certifications, some people are asking, why are you talking about hands-on and you're talking about certifications? The reason why it's important to look at certifications is they help you learn in a structured way. So when I say structured way, I mean you're able to start from somewhere and know what you want, what the end goal is. For example, if you're trying to study for maybe AWS Cloud Practitioner, you look at the exam guide, you look at the scope of your learning, and then you start studying towards it and doing the hands-on and something like that. Same case for Azure, because there's also certifications. I just realized yesterday that the way to recertify for Azure is so easy compared to AWS, where you have to sit the exam all over again after 3 years. But I think for Azure, it's every year, but you get an open book exam. You can do it as many times, even if you fail, as long as you do it within the first 6 months before your cert expires, you get. So I think once you get an Azure certification, maintaining it is very easy, but in AWS, you might lose it when you fail. So, but anyway, that is how it is. So let me share my screen and just show you this. Again, I'll not be speaking as an authority in Azure because I'm also learning it, but I'll be able to show more. So this is just I can say an infographic of how Microsoft Azure certifications look like. I'd like to thank Kazim from yesterday's session that I attended for getting me this, for sharing this resource. And where we are with regards to this 5-week kind of a learning is these Azure fundamentals. So as much as you can see, there are different kinds of objectives. For example, if you want to support with data and analytics, so these are some of the certifications you can do: the Data Scientist Associate, the Azure Data Engineer Associate, the Database Administrator Associate, and the Enterprise Data Analyst Associate. So anything regarding data and analytics, these are certifications that you do. If you're looking to innovate, so you can see Azure Fundamental. If you're looking to innovate with best-in-class apps. So for example, like you want to, let me see where this touches on. You can see it touches on here. That is Developer Associate and IoT Developer Specialty. If you want to manage hybrid cloud infrastructure, all these are the certifications. There are around eight of them. I can see starting with Azure Administrator Associate, a Security Engineer, Network Engineer, Stack Hub Operator, Server Hybrid, Windows Server Hybrid, Virtual Desktop, SAP Workloads, Support Engineer for Connectivity, and all these. There's some 3 specialty courses and some 5 associate level courses. And I mean certifications, sorry, certifications. So so that is the 3, and then you can see there's an overlap. So if you're talking about an overlap between data analytics and development, innovating in class apps, so this is where you get to have data fundamentals, AI fundamentals, AI engineer, and Cosmos DB developer specialty. So 2 fundamental level certifications, one associate level and 1 specialty certification. So when you're talking about an overlap between developing in-class apps and managing hybrid cloud infrastructure, because your use case might be something like that, is where you meet the Azure Solutions Architect expert. These are expert level, DevOps engineer expert. Also, yeah, those are the 2 experts. They're the expert level. So anytime you're developing and also you're managing, the expert level certifications come in play. And then there's now where all these, and you can see security covers all of them, secure from the ground up. So it's security, even in AWS, usually say it is 0. It is the first thing that you think about when you're about to come up with any kind of solution. So this is where Azure is, and you can see the overlap of all these starts with Azure fundamentals. So what does that tell you is you need to get an understanding of how the whole Azure ecosystem works before you get into any kind of a track whether it is developing, whether it is data and analytics, whether it is hybrid cloud management, cloud infrastructure management, and anything that is there. So that is it. Let me just share this on the chat for those who have joined on. I'll actually be encouraging you to be joining via your laptop, because most of the time I'll be sharing these resources on the chat where you can download, them. So this is there you have it. That is now what I've just shared, and every one of them has a link. So let me click on this, and then I can stop. I can stop share, then I can share again. Let me see whether I can just close other tabs that might be distracting. Okay, let me share my screen again. Okay, good. So you can see now this is the learning, Microsoft Learn, what can I say? Microsoft Learn platform for you to be able to get to learn towards, or maybe get to study towards your certification. So for example, you can see I'm also kind of, this is my profile. I'm also studying towards although these are all the things I've covered elsewhere away from Microsoft Learn, but you can be able to get to learn more about Azure fundamentals from this page. Let me just share this. Okay, so that's the Microsoft Learn platform, and there are many others. I think there is a challenge. Yes, Microsoft 2023. Let me see whether I find it online. Yeah, don't know that this is the one, but I got one in my email. It's just that I don't want to get with the junk of my email to do this, and it's not this one. Let me see whether I can get it somewhere. I saw it somewhere. Let me just pull it up. So this is also very important for you if you're starting out on Azure and you want to get a certification voucher. There's a challenge, I think, that is going to be starting next week. And I'm also going to be taking part in it. And I would encourage you to also take part in it. Let me see where it is. Let me just pull it up. Okay. It's coming up very well. Okay, I think I found it. Here it is. Yeah. So here it is, the Microsoft Learn Cloud Skills Challenge. So you can see, select the right challenge. For example, I don't know which one I did. I think I took the Cloud Development Challenge. These are DevOps, these are Power Platform, Microsoft 365, Build.net. So if I would advise for anyone who is starting out, you can think about the cloud development, the DevOps. If you want to learn about Git and GitHub, developer tools is also a very good challenge. You can take several challenges and you can get to understand more about this. So you can see your free Microsoft certification exam will be delivered by 30th June. So it means that you need to do it within the next 30 days, I think, when it starts. And it will expire on September 27th. You must complete the exam before then. So there are a lot of FAQs around it. So you can register for it. So if, for example, let me just check on, for example, developer tools challenge. Let's just check on what it is there. Let me see whether I'll be able to register for it. I think I'm already logged in. There's also Microsoft Build that is going to be there next week. I think I registered. You already know Microsoft has gone big with OpenAI. So you can see the challenge begins in 3 days, just above 3 days. So maybe I can register for this. But as I said, we'll email you on May 23rd, so you can see. I think it's in 3 days, and the challenge has begun. So I'll be able to explore Microsoft Learn. I can register maybe for the DevOps, but you can register for several challenges, but you need to complete at least one challenge to be eligible for this. And you cannot get 3 certification vouchers for completing three challenges. Maybe I'm biting more than I can chew, but let me just have only those 3. I think I'd already taken up the cloud development challenge. I'm very sure I did that. That is the one that I was aiming for because of my cloud development bias. Yeah, you can see I think I had already registered for that one. So let me just share this for you. I don't know whether it's shared. So let me also share this.
I've shared.
Oh, you already shared. Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Why am I not seeing it on the chat? Oh, you've already shared. Good, awesome.
Yeah.
Good, awesome. Thanks, William, for sharing that. So please take upon yourself. These are you usually get I already have a voucher. I don't know if I can go to my certification. There's a voucher I have for Azure Fundamentals. Sometimes usually get all these things by just attending their sessions. So I don't know whether I can see it in my profile or I have to go to my certification profile, and I don't want to share sensitive information, but I do have one. I do have one that I'm going to use to do an exam. So you can see I have an appointment. You can see that I'll be doing that Azure Fundamentals exams then. So yeah, so you can take advantage of that, and yeah, it's a very good platform to start learning on something. So that is that with Azure. Now on to my comfort zone. Sometimes it's good to get out of your comfort zone. So let me get on to AWS. So just get this up. Oh, and please, William, be admitting people on the waiting room. I hope you can see the waiting room. I'm not concentrating on looking at the waiting room myself. So if you see people there, you can admit. We are going to be a bit lenient today, but next Saturday, if you are 10 minutes late, no need to join. Just maybe check it on YouTube later. So I hope you can see this. Let me see what you're seeing. Let me just click on what I'm seeing. Good. I can see you can see this, believe. So let me do this. Sorry about that. So for AWS, okay. First of all, I can say we have so many certifications as I saw in Azure. I think I saw over, I don't know that they're around 20 or 30, but I think AWS has maximum of 12. If you want to be fully certified and get that golden jacket, where you can get all of them, but that depends on you. Personally, I'm not aiming to get all the AWS certifications. I just want to get enough for me to get things done and get to understand more things that I want to do. So let's start. So for the 5 weeks for AWS, most of the knowledge or most of the skills can help you pass the AWS. Let me see whether I can highlight my annotation. It looks weird. Spotlight. I think this one can help. Can Spotlight help? Yep. Yeah. So the Spotlight helps. So it can help you get some enough knowledge, but it cannot be the only thing. You cannot depend on the hands-on and the content there to be ready for some of these certification exams, but it can help you get enough knowledge for this and just a little bit for the solutions architect associate. In terms of hands-on knowledge, I'm talking about hands-on knowledge, but in terms of the theory, in terms of being exam ready, doing practice exams, failing them and trying to know where you failed, that is very important in AWS. If you don't do that, if you go to an exam just plainly and blindly, you're going to fail even before you start. So that is where it is. And I most of the time, usually there's a lot of debate whether you should do this exam or you can just skip it and start here. But it always depends on your goals. I always say basics are key. Personally, I did this before I did that. And I think I have a scheduled appointment to do another associate level. And I'll be able to look for whether I don't want to do professional this year. I might think on a security specialty. So I'm targeting one other associate level certification and a specialty certification before the year ends. I just want to do not more than 2. And I think another 2 in Azure, and that'll be good enough for the year in terms of cloud certifications. But most of the time I'll be doing hands-on. I prefer hands-on. I just do the certifications to get a feel and not forget that sometimes you have to push yourself to the limit. So this is how AWS works. This is the foundational. The foundational covers several aspects of cloud, and it is very good for especially those who are non-technical. Maybe they're business, they're in finance, or there's in any other also. But for you, if you are getting technical and in the IT side, these are just a stepping stone for you to do any of the associate level. So if you're looking at a career around being a cloud developer, the developer track is here. You can do the developer associate, then go to the DevOps engineer. If you're looking to manage infrastructure, cloud infrastructure, ensuring that they're working well, following the well-architected framework, you can look at the operations side. And you can see that is why in this day and age, we have what we call DevOps. And it has even evolved. Now we have DevSecOps, where there's more of security also inside the DevOps process. So that is on the side of developer and operations. And as an architect, but as much as usually is put architect on its own, it's very important. That is why you can see in AWS, almost most of the certifications that people have start with the solutions architect associate in terms of the technical level in tech, because you cannot talk about being a sysops administrator if you don't know the architecture. You cannot be a developer if you cannot understand the architecture that a solutions architect has provided for you to develop upon, or maybe for the sysops administrator to implement. So most of the time people start with these associate level certification just to get an understanding of what solutions architecture is all about. And then there's the professional part. I wouldn't advise you to do a professional certification if you haven't been working on production on AWS on almost on a daily basis, and maybe that your employer really requires it. So because getting a professional certification and you don't have a job and you're going to interview and saying, kindly give me a job because I have a professional cert, an AWS professional cert, you're not going to get it. And an AWS professional cert is just to validate the knowledge that you have, that you've been working on in a production environment over several years. And that is where you can see it requires 2 years of a comprehensive experience designing, operating, and troubleshooting solutions using AWS Cloud. So no need, and even the learning curve is so high. I know you can drill yourself without having the experience and pass the certification, but it doesn't really make sense to have a certification. Then you go to an interview and you can say where you've worked doing and show that you really have, although you can show your projects and some of the hands-on things that you've done on your GitHub repository and all that, but I can't advise you. So then there's the specialty. Specialty certification are just helping you get some more deeper technical knowledge in certain specialist areas. So there's advanced networking, usually a very tough kind of a certification. There's big data, there's security, machine learning, Alexa skill build. Okay, Alexa skill builder was removed. There's what we call SAP on AWS, which is not showing here on these. So you can see that these is a May 2019, but skill builder was removed. So we now have SAP on AWS. I believe they must be 12. So these are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is usually 12. I think there's another one that is not here. Data analytics. Data.
I think it's the database.
A database administrator, database specialty. Thanks, William.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So they're usually 12. So there's the database specialty, there's a security specialty, machine learning specialty, advanced networking specialty, big data. I think, and the one that I've told you, SAP. SAP is a platform that usually used by certain organizations. So if you have experience deploying it on AWS, you can take that specialty certification. So basically that is basically it, and enough with the stories. I believe now you understand why you are doing this, the end goal. It's very important. And I've told you the end goal is not the certifications, but for you to, the certifications just to help you structure your learning. And where can you get this? Okay, I think I'd be a bit more biased towards AWS towards the Azure if I don't give you resources. But I think, William, you can share the certification page for cloud practitioner and where all the general AWS certifications are. So I can see some questions. I'll allow me to answer them. Let me see that I can answer them. Okay, I can see Roy may be answered, but I'll look at them at the end. So let me just get onto this. But if there's any that requires my urgent attention, anyone can just unmute and say, I think everyone is free to unmute and just interject me. Away from the spotlight, let me just remove the spotlight, go back to my mouse, get out of here. Let me stop my share, then I log in somewhere. So let's start with AWS or Azure. I think let me start with Azure. Then I can finish with AWS. Let's start with a bit of a hands-on. So let me just log into my Cloud Academy. So Cloud Academy, I don't know that there's a free subscription. I can see Meshach is joined in. I don't know that there's a free, but I've gotten this courtesy of the AWS Community Builder Program. The AWS Community Builder Program is a premier program for those who help people get onto the cloud, especially AWS. So if you see me looking up, I'm just looking at my second screen, which is a bit higher than my laptop, so that I can see it. So let me see what I can look at cloud fundamentals. Azure. So I'm going to start with a very simple hands-on lab. It says that it's going to take me 2 hours, but I'm sure I'm going to complete it in less than that. Let me just go to hands-on labs and see whether there's one that is shorter than that. But it's basically a very nice. Oh, by the way, there's some certain assumptions that I'm making in these kind of training. I'm assuming that you are versed with some basic things such as Linux basics. I'm also assuming that you are computer literate. You can operate a computer. You can surf the internet and you can research. You can log in onto a platform if I give you one, and you can be able to just try to work your way around things. So there are certain assumptions that I'm making. So it's not a total beginner kind of teaching you what is a keyboard, what is a mouse. Those are assumed. So I think I need to make that clear very, very early enough. Core Azure storage, understanding that Azure virtual machine. I can see some of the most popular. Yeah, so let us do this. Let us do this one. Let me share my screen now. I think I've seen what I wanted to take you through. I don't know whether it is against, but it can help you. I'm not really sure whether I can give you access to Azure material, but I can be able to see whether you can get AWS. So, so this is the lab. So you can see, you can start your first Azure final virtual machine. These are Windows. There's one for Linux, but I saw why start with Linux and Azure is all Microsoft and Windows. Let's do a Windows virtual machine first. So you can see, hope you can see my screen, and as always, you can.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, you can always put something mute or put it in the chat if there's anything else that you see on my tablet, whether I can on my Windows here, so that I can, in case anything pops up, I can also see what you're seeing. So that said, so this lab, this hands-on lab is just to help you know how to log in and use the basics of the Microsoft Azure portal. You need to be able to know how to configure a Windows virtual machine, launch it, connect to it using remote desktop or the remote desktop protocol, because you know Windows is not like Linux, you don't just SSH into it. And then you're going to perform some of the basic controls, whether you can start a machine, stop a machine, restart it, then delete it. And then, so you can need to look at this. This is how the environment looks like before. Oh, I need to be starting. Let me start the lab so that it starts provisioning. These are just some of the rules you get on Cloud Academy. So let it be deploying so that as we read through the instructions, it is deploying the environment. So let it load. Yeah, so this is how you can see. So it's already set up. Okay, I didn't know that it starts up with that very fast. So you can see this is how the Azure portal looks like. It has GUI. This is basically it. The blade is a portion of the page that pops up as you navigate the portal. A blade is a contextual site of navigation. This is more intuitive as you use the portal. Opening a series of blades is called a journey. So you're going to see a hub is an icon or a category for navigation within the icon or category navigation within the left Azure portal that is opened using the left accordion. So what they're saying is the hub, I think it must be this gray part. So I've already configured when you start the lab environment is created the following login credentials. So I'll be able to log in that. So this, just click on this. And then, so signing in on Microsoft is a bit trickier than AWS. So you have to know the account that you're in. So if I'm presented with an account, I need to choose another account. Let me see. Although the only thing I didn't like about Azure, let me not say I did. I mean, to say the truth is the 1 month kind of $200 offering for a free tier to try out things. Don't think I can do all the things in cloud in 1 month. So maybe they need to relook at how they offer their, well, but there's something called I think they have a similar free tier, which is totally fine. Let me see whether it loads. Still loading. Okay, so what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to copy this and paste it here. I'll put it side by side. I just want to first of all, make sure I've logged in. Okay, so let's put this side by side. Let me see whether I'll be able to, okay, prepare these things in this side. Please appear, good. And this one appears here. So they're side by side. I've opened the environment. I think it must be logging in. I'm not sure whether it is really logging in. This one is my Microsoft LAN. So is it really logging in? Or should I refresh? Okay. So don't worry, these are some of the things that happens in a hands-on session. So don't, okay, it's okay. Let's try to log in again. Hopefully it's going to log. Good, I think it's loading something. Must be the Azure portal. So I've signed in. I think that's step one. So that is how you log in. So let me just explain what happens here. So most of the time, when you get to the Azure portal, when you have your account, is you're going to be having a username and a password, right? I think that is basically it. For AWS, it's a bit different. You usually have the account ID, the username, and then the password, because here you get also around. So I think I'll start a tour later. Okay, you can even start a tour right now. I can go to, you can see, I can create a resource from this left panel. This is, I think, what we call the hub. I can be able to look at the home. I can look at my dashboard. So all the services, I'll be able to get them there. Some of my favorites will appear here. If I want to search for resources, I can be able to do this. Let me just do this. Give me a second. Sorry about that. Okay, we are back. So where are we? So then another directory and subscriptions. You can just access it from there, as well as the Cloud Shell. I can see up there, your notifications, support and troubleshooting, your account information. Okay, that's the tour. So let's get on to this. Then I want to get to the interesting part and get to AWS before we get to 10 a.m. when we need to finish. So I'm going to the next step. So this is the first step. So what am I supposed to do here? From the dashboard, expand the menu like this part. Then, as always, is there any question? Let's try. Sure, you can just. Okay, Lynette. Oh, okay. So I'm using Cloud Academy, but I don't know whether it has that offering. I'm using a premium version of it, and you're free to pay for it if you want to. So that is what I'm using. And the lab that the exact lab that I'm working on, I'm already also sharing the link to it. There it is. So that is the link to the lab that I'm working on right now. If it is accessible for free, you can look at it. You can work together side by side if you want to. You can just check it out and see whether you can. So where are we? So I'm supposed to click on this, and I'm supposed to go to click on the resource groups tab in the left window. So this is the resource groups. In the name column, I'll be able to click on the resource group that I've been provided. So already when the lab was being provisioned for me, a resource group was created, right? So you can see that is why you can already see it here. This one, CAL, and then that Cloud Academy Labs production. For you can see that's where my subscription is. So you already know that I think in Azure, resources reside in a resource group. So click on overview just to make sure that you are in the right. So what am I supposed to do? Click on that. So I'll click on it. So under the overview, I should be able to see. Just confirm that I'm just seeing the same thing. I should be able to see that I'm within that, the correct resource group blade. Note that there are several pieces of information that are displayed. For example, the type of subscription and any tags that have been added to help you organize. So you can see these are some of my ads. This environment ID is 1189, scope lab, CA creator, system, and C persistent false. And there's, I think, 3 more tags that are being added for me to organize my resources. Then I'll be able to click create. You can see create here. So create. And under Windows Server, I'll click create under Windows Server in the popular Azure services section. So let's wait for that to come. So it takes me to, when I click create, it takes me to the marketplace. So within the marketplace in the Azure portal, I'll be able to launch different types of operating systems, or what can I say, resources. If it is, and you can see Ubuntu, CentOS, Windows Server, simple Linux server, a data center, or even other kinds of, not just Linux operating system, but different solutions that have been, that even some are paid for, some are not. Yeah, so you can see that in different categories. You can see on the side here, compute, IT and management tools, security tools, analytic tools, developer tools. All these are found in the marketplace that I can create, and then it will reside in my resource group. So I need to look for Windows Server. You can see popular Azure services in organization, virtual network, or Windows Server, virtual machine. So I can see it is already here. So I think I'll be able to do this, and I'll choose Windows 2019 data center. I'm supposed to choose the exact one for this lab. So there are so many of them. Let me see whether I can see here. I think it must be this one. Yep. And then in the basics blade, I'll fill out the fields, following fields. So I'll select the resource group that I'm in. The virtual machine, I'll call it CA Lab VM, separated by hyphens. So I can see the resource group has already been, if I want to create one, I can, but within the scope of this lab, I'm not supposed to create a new resource group. So anytime you're doing a lab, especially on such platforms, should always ensure that you stick to what you're supposed to do. So let me just put the name. Region, I think should be West US. It's fine. No infrastructure redundancy required. That is fine. What are the other options here? If I want, I can do a scale set or an availability set. I think this helps. For example, if I want to create in AWS, we call it an auto-scaling group. So if I want to have several machines that if maybe there's a lot of requests, or maybe there's something that has happened to one, it can go to another virtual machine in another availability zone. So there's a scale set and an availability set, but no need for that now. Security type standard, what are the other options? You can see trusted launch. And then there's confidential virtual machine. So I think it goes the level of security increases as you choose as you go download from trusted launch to confidential. Okay. So size, I'll select B2S. So anything else I need to look at here? Architecture 64. So certain images do not support certain architectures. For example, you have ARM and just normal Intel kind of 64. So if I want to do a spot discount, this one I think in AWS call it spot instances. So you can tick it from here. Size, and maybe click see all sizes. Then I'll choose the B2S. You can see it is here, most used by Azure users. And you can see the cost per month for it is around $42. Okay. Anytime you're learning about cloud, always be conscious about the costs. So select the username should be what? Student. So I've already selected. Always make sure you check on the gray area and see whether it is done like that. It's done. Username is student. I'll just type that out. And then the password. Let me just copy this out. Make sure I don't include a space. Okay. Did I do a paste? That's a paste. Another paste for the confirm password. So leave other fields at their default values. Notice that Azure allows you to enter a Windows Server license if you already have one to save money. So I can see RDP will help us. We need to use that if you want to use SSH. But if you do SSH, if you want to also do an SSH, you can tick them out if you want all those ports. So you can so without the inbound port rules, you'll not be able to access the virtual machine from the internet. So save up to 49% with your license. So for example, Windows Server is a commercial operating system. So if you already have a license, you can include it here and have that thing about Azure hybrid benefit. Anyway, so let's go to disks. Let's save this. So are we with disks? So remember that virtual machine specifications rely on virtual CPUs. The higher the number of virtual CPUs, the more the compute power you have. In terms of memory, it's also in GB of RAM. I think starting from 4 GB, 8 GB, 16, like that. And then I/O performance is basically how is it fast in terms of reading data from disks, and also receiving or writing data onto the disk, so I/O. So the maximum number of and then we have the OS disk type, standard SSD most of the time. So so you're going to choose here, not premium. We're going to use the standard one. So there are different levels. We have the standard HDD. HDD, it's not really good to use for the cloud unless you really want to use it for backup or something like that to save on cost. But if you are in a production environment, you might consider using premium SSD. So let's go there. So you can choose that if the virtual machine is deleted, also the disk is deleted, but you can untick this so that to ensure that if the disk is, if the virtual machine is terminated or deleted, then the disk doesn't go with it. So that's it. Let me leave it ticked as per this. Networking. So going to networking, the another step. So if you can add another disk from another if it's existing, or you can create a new one. So if you want, so this one is like a disk that will have the host the operating system. But if you want to put another one, think of it like when you connect an external hard disk to your laptop, you can create and attach a new disk here. If you already have one that you've done from another resource and you want to access it, maybe the VM crashed, but you have the disk, you can attach one here. Okay, so networking, let's go to networking. You can see the step here is on networking. So public inbound will allow selected ports. So you can see these are VMIP, the virtual network. Always remember that networking is very important. Anytime you're learning about the cloud, don't skip on your network fundamentals. Get to know what a subnet is, what a virtual network or a virtual private network, a VPC is, things such as a network interface, ports, what are the commonly known ports. Get to know your basics. Just make sure your basics are right, especially when it comes to networking fundamentals. I'll always recommend networking fundamentals that are free, or technical fundamentals that are free from Adrian Country. Just check them out. Very good kind of material in getting your fundamentals right. I think we'll make sure you get that access, the link to it by the end of the session. So RDP 3389, I think that is fine. What else do we need to do? Allow selected, it is already allowed. What else is left here? Nothing left. So the warning is because just to ensure you really know that what you are doing, because it tells you that the port is going to be accessible over the entire internet. But in your environment, it is always safer to only allow only your IP to access or a range of IP. So always remember that. Delete public IP when VM is deleted. I don't think I've been told to do that. Please include a manage. So you can see you can review and create. So I can, did I need, I think I don't need to go to management. So I'll just go back to review and create. My time is really flying and I want to do also AWS. So, okay, so it is on review and create, then I'll click on deploy and then I'll create. So I think usually a Windows machine takes more time to deploy, a bit more time, slightly more time than a Linux machine, because of the fact that you're going to have a Windows, especially these I think a Windows server. So I can see that ephemeral OS disk. Yeah, so I think all these are just a review of what we've just done for all the steps. So I'll just click create. It will show me this deployment in progress. So it tells me to wait, and so the validation, it does some validation of the configurations to ensure that there's no conflicting kind of configurations. And after it does the validation, it does initialize on the deployment. And then see if I do my check if it's going to go through or if it's going to fail. It's going to fail because it's failing because it's still in the process. So let's wait. Let me see whether it's going to pass right now, or if it's going to still fail because it's deployment in progress. Okay, I need to wait a bit. I want it to pass this check so that as it deploys, we can look at the next step. But it seems that we have to wait. So as we wait on that, maybe if there's someone who is having a question on how this is working, you can use this opportunity to ask. Remember, we're all learning together. I said I'm not much of an authority in Azure, but at least I know how to work around some things here and there. So in case you have a question on what we've covered so far, you can always feel free to ask it. And just maybe even ask anything that is related to the workshop, the hands-on. Why are we really doing this? If you have a question, you can feel free to post it out and just ask it. Anyone with a question? As we wait, let me see. There's one that I saw, but since I saw it was AWS related, if I'm not wrong, I'll not touch on it because right now we are in the Azure world. So I'll be doing what will be happening every Saturday morning. I'll be doing one hands-on lab on Azure and another hands-on lab, or even two. Don't worry, if I'm more biased on AWS, please forgive me. But remember, I'm also trying to look at it in a multi-cloud perspective. So you can see our validation has passed because the deployment is now complete. Now let's go to the next step of connecting to it. So introduction to helpful Azure portal features. So navigate as if you're going to create a new VM, for example, Azure dashboard, and navigate to resource groups or hub, CIL 123 create, select any base image, click create. It does not matter which one, as you're not going to save the configuration. Take a few minutes to read the help of several fields that offer it. Click on the eye, explore further learning, spend a few minutes exploring the functionality of the hubs. For example, take a look at security center, monitor, and load balancers. Open up another browser, the URL, and so that you can learn more after the completion of this lab. Let me just show you this. So what basically that step is all about is getting to help you understand. So for example, if they're telling me to do this, go to the dashboard. I can act as if I want to create. Okay, this is my dashboard. I think I need to go to home, not dashboard. Act as if I'm creating a resource. I can say maybe I want to create a Windows 2019 data center. No worries, it's not going to create because, or even the Ubuntu if I want to. And then once I'm here, I can click on this information to know all resources in an Azure subscription are built together. So for example, all the things that I'm creating are being paid for under these Cloud Academy Labs prod 4. So then I can click on this. Our resource group is just a collection of resources that share the same life cycle, permissions, as well as policies. So if I want, I can select an existing one. If I want to do the virtual machine names, everything that has an information helps you understand what it is. So that is where you get to an understanding when you're starting out. The base operating system comes in form of an image. There's a security. So that is basically what they're saying you need to do so that you just get familiar. But you always get familiar as you do more practice severally. So that is, I'll not create anything. So I'll just cancel this. And I'll say okay. Then I'll go to the next step. So what is our next step? I think we need to connect, if I'm not wrong, to the virtual machine using RDP. So what are we doing? So you remember RDP is a protocol that has been developed by Microsoft for you to connect remotely to a Windows host. And it uses what we call the popular client server model. So that is why I said some things are assumed. For example, your technical fundamentals and your networking fundamentals. But if you don't have those fundamentals well, and sometimes you usually go back and refresh, even if you're good at it, it's good to refresh on your fundamentals. Sometimes you might be banging your head on the desk just because you're not able to move forward, and it's because you missed something on your fundamentals. So I'll go to the search bar and enter virtual machines. So allow me to move a bit faster. So here it is. Then I'll choose this that is running. You can see the status is running. I can be able to see more. It is a Windows operating system. It is a B2S. It has this public IP. It has 1 disks. That I have 3 dots here. I think I can do more about it. I can see what I want to do. If I want to start, restart, stop, or even delete it, I can do it from there. Okay. I need to select it, not just, I need to click on it. On the overview, helpful graphical like CPU usage, can get that from the overview. So I need to go to the RDP tab that appears. The RDP, download the RDP file. Need to scroll up. Where did I do? Where do I do that? Click on connect RDP. Click on this connect. Then under RDP, so you can see there's RDP SSH Bastion. So Bastion host is just a jump server for you to, and a server you get to so that you access the other server. I just check the status of most common and connecting using this method, but add an inbound network with a destination port. Okay, seeing that I've not done this, but I don't want to do this, we just download the RDP file first. You can safely ignore that what requisite has not been met. Yeah, so you can see I'm correct on that. And then you may also run into permissions error when attempting to access. It means that you are provisioning resources, that you are provisioning resources for this lab, including the permissions that manager aren't done. But I think we did this. So I'll open it. Once you just download the RDP file, you just open it. If it's opening on this side, let me just take it to you. Let me bring it to your side here. So you can see that is how it looks like. Do I need to tick anything? I just click on connect. So if it is showing on my side, I'll bring it. So you can see this where it is asking me for credentials. Remember, I think we did student, and the password was this. And then again, okay, it is connecting. So it is also going to ask for something about the certificate. Here it is. Then I'll click yes. So it is showing on this side. Proceed to instruction 6. So this for Mac OS doesn't really make sense to have on it. So I'm seeing it's showing on my side, showing here, but I'll connect to it for you. Observe several startup connections. So let me just share my screen. Stop share. Then I share again on screen 1. So you can see it is loading. So that is the RDP. Then observe several, the important, I'm saying after a few minutes, you'll be able to interact with the VM. So you can see there it is. This is now the Windows server. It has loaded. The CPU and memory specifications VM in these are modest, only 2 CPU cores. Therefore, interacting with RDP, which triggers several Windows courses and unresponsive user interface. So I can say yes here. Oh, I was supposed to say no, but I've said yes anyway. And clicks close on the server manager. So I'm told to close server manager here. And I was able to connect to it. I'm usually interested on how fast these machines are connected to. So usually open the browser here. And I try to check how fast the network connection is. Okay, I don't know whether you've ever opened Internet Explorer, but but I think that is the only browser that is usually here, these servers. Let's see how fast the internet here is. so that it gives you an idea of how slow our internet sometimes is. So this is the network within, I think this is how fast the network is within Azure platforms. So let's see what it say. Say, okay, no worries. Okay, let's see how fast. That's the only thing I usually do before I delete the machine. So let's see whether it's going to load. I don't know whether it's, I did yes, and it should have been no, and that is why it's blocking. It's blocking some things. I saw it was saying it is blocking some features. Add. Let me trust the website. Hope I'm not doing things that are against the rules. Then I can say add. Then I can close. Then I can see how fast it is. The other way is, I think, speed test net. But I think, okay, another. Did our speed tests work here? But I think Internet Explorer is doing all the crazy things that we wanted it not to do. We'll have to add so many of these things. Hopefully it will after it has finished. You can close that. Can close that. Those are advertisements. Let's see whether it's going to run the speed test itself. But it's going to do crazy things. Yeah, I think it's about to run. Nope, don't want to track locations. So you can see the speed. Can you see the speed? Is it scrolling? Yeah, there is the speed within Azure. It's around 900, almost in a gigabit per second speed, 921 Mbps. Yeah, usually very, very fast in terms of when you're within the network. Yeah, so can you imagine if you have that in that kind of a speed within Azure? Okay, good. I think that is enough of the server itself. What else do I need to do? Let me see. I think when I click submit, it will end the lab. So let me see if I submit. So when I submit, let me just stop my share so that you don't look at a weird desktop. That is just, so when you finish, this is how it looks like from. So you can see I finished that. So since I'd already done it, I think I'm not going to get any, but usually you get a skills profile for all the things that you've done. So for example, in Cloud Academy, you can see, so I think I can close. Oh, so do I think I need to delete it from here? Let me be a good person and just ensure that I delete resources after created it without imagining that it has to be deleted for me. Let me not say apply first, delete, just delete it. Okay. So you can see what I just did has already been recorded here. I think added just some few points to my skills profile. I've also been doing some things on Terraform. So anytime we do a session, get your skills profile there. You're told on where you are, whether you're a beginner or you did on several things that you've touched on. Yeah, and overall how you're growing in terms of what you're doing. So Cloud Academy does a very good job at it. So that is that. So let us go to a hands-on on AWS, right? That would be awesome. So that we can close the session. I think that one will be faster because I'll just do an Amazon Linux. So let me just search AWS. Let me just go to MN, browse like that. AWS. So anyone interested in, so most of the time for the week, within the week access to what can I say, to AWS, because I have more of that. And also the Microsoft Learner, you've already gotten the challenge, so you can just explore Microsoft Learner. I'm not going to really be focusing on that. I'll show you how you can access learning on my platform. So let me do it from there. Let me not do it from Cloud Academy. Let me stop my share and log in so that you don't see how I log in. But again, you can also be asking questions if you have so far. How was that? I hope you learned something on how you can deploy a machine on Azure, a Windows Server machine. Same case applies for Linux machine. So let me just show you how AWS works. But I think this one is going to be a bit long and I don't want it to be long. So I'll show you what I'll do. So if you're interested in doing this for the next 5 weeks, like doing the practicals, because what will be happening is you'll be able to do the practicals beforehand. And then when we come, maybe you're doing it for the second time. So it will help reinforce your understanding. Or if you got stuck somewhere, you'll say, now this is where I didn't do the right thing. So and most of that will be happening on the AWS side. For the Azure, I'll be giving you we'll be doing some things on Cloud Academy so that you can be able to balance it out. So it is just loaded. So let me just share my screen. Confirm that you can see my screen. Okay, I have so many courses, but I hope you can. I think I'll get to the one that I want you to access. 709, I think this one. So AWS has a program offering called AWS Academy, of which I run an AWS Academy myself, together with other instructors. So what happens is, if you are certified and you run an academy, you get a badge. And anytime you do a course in AWS Academy, you also get a badge that you can share on your LinkedIn or whichever place, or through an employer to validate your skills. The good thing with AWS offerings is there's a validation also of your skills. And you don't just earn that badge by clicking things and going on and on. I forgot, okay, I got this Cisco champion. Forgot to share it, but I'll share it later on. Let me go to my badges here. So for example, if you do maybe cloud architecting on AWS Academy, you get this kind of a badge example. So you need to have finished all the requisites and the prerequisites of the AWS Academy Cloud Architecting course. Let me not show you that course, but that is usually the next level. So for the cloud foundations, I think I did cloud security. So this one is for the cloud foundation. So for this one, this can be your end goal. You can get this badge by the end of the next 5 weeks and learn a lot of things. It's not about the badge, it's just a validation. Think of it like the way people always ask, will you get a certificate at the end of this? This is your certificate. So so for that, so usually get that. So for example, for me, I got this because I'm an educator who holds an AWS certification. And talking about AWS certification, they're good, but again, I can't say that they're the only thing that can show you're very good at AWS. I got my, when did I get? I think I got my, pretty much last year, the cloud practitioner, sometime last year. And the good thing you can see it is, I did get it last year, but it's going to expire in January 2nd, 2026. Somebody might ask why? Because 3 years after, it should be September 1st, 2025. But usually what happens is, if you do a higher level certification, for example, I did this on 2nd of January this year, you can see it also extends my lower level certification. So if I do maybe a solutions architect professional on 21st of May, maybe tomorrow, it will extend my expiry for this solutions architect associate. So that is how, and all the certifications in AWS expire after 3 years, but you need to have done your recertification before the 3 years end. Yeah, so there are several offerings and you can be able to do that. So going back, and they're also shareable on LinkedIn. They are credibly issued badges, and you can just decide you can just want to share them and do what you want to do with them. So let me take you through. So for example, and what happens is AWS has really taken a lot of time to come up with these materials. Let me just show you something. Let me just show you the course outline of these cloud foundations. It's called Cloud Foundations, but it is more than that. I know we are on time. It's already 10. I really pray, just give me your 10 of your minutes, and then we'll end it at 10:10. So let me just go to my files as an educator. Let me just download the course outline for you. Okay, it can load from here, no worries. Roy, yes, you have something you want to ask? You can just unmute.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you.
It's
I had
okay,
a
no.
question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what's the difference between the cloud foundational certification and the cloud practitioner? Like, do you need to have both of them, or you can just decide to take one?
Okay, so what happens is, let me just take you back on this. Let me just take you to my badges so that you understand what I'm talking about. Where's my dashboard badges? Okay, so where am I? So you can see what happened is, for example, I got my AWS Academy Cloud Foundations on July 10th, 2021. This was when I was just about, like, it was COVID time. I was just getting to understand things. And also I just recently started an AWS Academy, and I wanted to ensure that anything that my students learn, I already have learned it all. So, these, remember, it is what? It is a course, right? It is a badge you get after you finish a course. So, but for the cloud practitioner, here it is what? It is a certification, right? So what does that tell you? For example, you can see mine is going to expire. It has an expiry, the cloud practitioner. But when you go back to the cloud foundations, where is it? There it is. You can see it doesn't have an expiry. You can see it is not a certification. It is just a badge to show that you completed the course. But you don't have to complete a course every 3 years. But for a certification, you have to recertify because maybe technology changes and you need to show that you truly are a cloud practitioner who is still versed with what technology has changed. And you already know in every 3 years, a lot of things can change. So that is why certifications, so there's AWS academic courses, and then there's AWS certifications. And just to get you an understanding, when you look at this course outline, it has, okay, I don't know whether it has everything here, but it is a place that usually tells you that this course prepares you for you to do that, for you to do yeah, you can see under course introduction, AWS certification exam information. So you can see this. So the course in itself is not the certification. It is, what can I say? It prepares you towards doing that certification, having gotten the content. So I hope that makes sense. Hope I made you understand how the difference. And for example, like when you do an AWS academic course, most of the time you only pay maybe for the instructor training, which this one I've made it free. But for an AWS certification, you pay for the exam. For example, if it is $100 for the certification. For example, I think the cloud practitioner certification. So I think there it is. So you can see, they tell you that you can download the exam guide. Where is it? I think it's still loading. So you can see you can get the exam guide here, which is a bit different from the course outline. It tells you what you should be able to do. Let me just not open it first. But you can see it is $100. But what happens is when you do my AWS academic course, okay, you can get a 50% off voucher, which helps you do it at $50. And again, what happens when you pass this exam, you get another 50% voucher off over your next exam. So you might always be doing your exams at 50% off from the very start. But anyone who is not doing an AWS academic course, they have to start it paying the full cost. And that is why for value for money, most people usually say, you go and do the solutions architect first, because you're going to do it at 150. And then you get a 50% voucher. Is it 150? I think it's 125. I don't know. Let me remember. Let me see. AWS Solutions Architect Certification. It should be easy. I don't know if it is 150 or 125. Let me see. 150. Yeah, 150. So when you do it at 150, then you get 50. You see, you'll have saved 50 because you'll do this exam at maybe, and when you attend an exam readiness webinar, usually get a 50% discount. So you'll do it at 75, and then you'll also get to do the practitioner at, and same case applies. When you do practitioner first and do it at, and you get it at $50 after you attend a webinar or you do this training, and then you get a 50% discount when you pass the exam. You're going to do all the 2 certifications at 125, which is much low, $25 cheaper than doing this exam directly without any discount. So it's sometimes when you're talking about, if you're trying to be conscious about the cost of the exam, you can think about it. And you can see this one is a bit more. The cloud practitioner is 90 minutes to complete the exam. This one is 130 minutes. This one is 65 questions. How many questions are in the cloud practitioner? Even forgot so far back a bit. Forgot about it. How many questions? Let it load. So yeah, it is still 65 questions, but I think the other one is more. This one is foundational level, the other one is associate level. Same case applies for developer associate and sysops administrator associate. The prices are basically the same. So as you can see, these are the objectives. Don't worry, my apologies, I can't distribute this. You can see I'm not supposed to share the course outline, but I can tell you what it's all about. It has 10 modules. So what we usually do over the 5 weeks, you do 2 modules per week. We pace ourselves at 2 modules per week. So, but most of the time when you look at the course itself, and just close this out. When you look at the course itself, so somebody may be asking, why 5 weeks? It has been tried and tested. We have seen that anything that goes longer than 1.5 months, most probably you're not going to complete it because you're going to go to something else. And my focus always is on completion. I would rather have 10 people and 10 people complete rather than have 100 people joining the session and only 6 people or 5 people complete. That completion rate is worse than having 10 people and 9 complete. That is a 90% completion rate rather than a 10% completion rate or lower. So as William told you, that is why William told you that you need to be very committed. You need to be disciplined. Don't wait for, if I tell you do this between the week, don't wait to be followed up for you to do something within the week, because it will be very clear. I can be able to see how much time people spend on this platform. If you spend 5 minutes and you say, I studied for 6 hours last week, I can only see whether you really studied for 6 hours or not, whether you spent that time. Always remember that this course has videos for everything. If you want to go to understand, that is why you realize that I have not talked about what are the benefits of cloud computing. You can go global in minutes. You can pay as you go. There is no capex. I've not gone into those details of the theories of around why do we go cloud? Why do people? That is why the video is there. You can watch the video. You can hear what the AWS Academy experts are doing and all that. So that is where you have that for. So, and what cloud computing is all about. My aim for these sessions are not to take you through those things. That is for your own time, for you to do that. So my aim, when you go to the modules, when you go back to the modules, is to take you through. You can see the first lab starts in module 4. You see that? So what does that tell you? I'd like you to do module 1, module 2, module 3, and get to module 4 before we meet on next Saturday. Because next Saturday, I'll be doing this lab and I'll have expected you to have already done this lab by yourself, so that by the time you're doing it together, you're doing it maybe the second time for you to reinforce your learning, or we are doing it the second time because you got stuck somewhere and you'd like to get unstuck. So, and you can see from there on, from module 4, there's a lab every week. So when you go to module 5, you can see you're going to be building a VPC and launching a web server and all these kind of things. So since Azure has taken our hands-on time and my time is already up, you'll allow me not to do a practical today, but I'm assuring if anyone here is ready to make a commitment of some time in the week, you can spare some 2, 3, 4 hours within the week and do the theory learning. Remember that every module has what? Every module has what we call a knowledge check. So a knowledge check is just to ensure it's like 10 questions, which all of them has 10 points, and you need to pass 7 out of those 10 questions. And all those questions come from what you cover here. If you are a video person, you can watch. If you are not a video person and you like to just read something out, you can use the student guide. Every module has a student guide. So it's a PDF version that you cannot download, but you can check the content. Similar content is in the video. So that is how the AWS Academy platform works. It has several courses. It has the cloud foundations. We have cloud architecting, cloud architecting, cloud developing, data analytics, data engineering, so many courses. But most of the time, I usually check, for example, I think there's also security that is aligned to the security specialty. So anyone here who is going to complete this within the next 5 weeks, I'm going to give them access to the security course. It's a shorter course, but it is more detailed on security. It goes deep on security. It also has hands-on labs on security. So, and you're going to get a badge that looks like, where do I have it? Here, this one, Cloud Security Foundations. So you get to understand more about cloud security. So that said, if you're willing to be added into this course, of which I'm sure maybe some of you are, what can I do? So I'll stop going live, and we'll meet next week, so that I'll not be sharing personal information. Then you can stick around. I add you to the course, and then we close the session. So for those who will be watching this on video later, you can reach out to me. You can write interested on the comment section or whatever where you know how to reach me out, and then you can be able to do this learning, 5 weeks of awesome learning, multi-cloud kind of Azure, AWS, hands-on workshops every Saturday, 8:30 a.m. GMT +3. So thank you. So let me just do this.
So
Let me
see Rob is asking a question.